I'm in the big leagues, told her don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Said Connects, Cannabis Entrepreneurial Dialogues. This is your host, Danny. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure to do so at Said Connects, CED Connects. Follow us on Instagram at CED_Connects. This is season 3. As you guys been watching throughout these last few weeks, we're in different locations every time. It's one of the highlights of this season, and today's no other. There's no difference. We have a special guest today. We've been talking for about a year now, and his drinks are amazing. His products are amazing, and I really just want to learn more about the goals that he has moving forward and really his story. And with that being said, we have Daniel Torres, CEO, founder of Marijuana Food Company. What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
Good. Thank you for having me, Daniel. And yes, we've been chatting back and forth for a year now, keeping in contact and seeing each other's progress and journeys. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, for sure, man. As we do with every episode, we like to learn more about you and your upbringing. What was your upbringing like growing up? Where are you from? What was your messaging behind cannabis in your household?
Yes. Originally, going back before me, my parents are from Mexico. They're from a little town called Huacasco, Jalisco. It's a little ranch in Jalisco, the state of Jalisco in Mexico. Okay. And they came to the U.S. in about 1970. My dad came, and then 1972, my mom came over here. And I'm an 80s baby. I was born in 82.
Okay.
So they, growing up, even through my teenage years, in terms of cannabis acceptance in the household, as I'm sure most Latino-born people or Latino children of immigrants are aware, the parents didn't really approve of cannabis. So growing up, I was a little bit of a troublemaker, and I came to find out that cannabis really helped me with my anger issues and really helped me calm down. So I started smoking.
Yeah. How did that go about? Like, how did you find out? Like, what were some of these anger issues? What age was this going on?
Well, man, not so much anger issues, but more authority issues.
Got you.
And one of those things where I didn't like to be told what to do. And
sure.
I was a middle child, so I don't know how that comes into play, but
I'm sure it has a lot to play.
They say typically the middle child is the rebellious child.
Right.
It was true for me in my case. And like I said, growing up, I was kind of an anti-authority. And so that put me in situations where I would get in trouble.
Yeah.
In the course of that, I was in and out of juvenile halls. And one of my good friends that I grew up with when I got out at about the age of 14 was already selling weed.
Okay.
And so he's the one that really put me on. Around that time, it was like 1996. Kush started coming around. OG Kush started coming into LA. And that was
about what area of LA are we talking, like, that you grew up in?
Glendale, Atwater.
Okay. Yeah. So Glendale, Atwater area. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not too far from here. And so this friend of mine put me on, and it was one of those things where, it really calmed me down. Like the smoking, the whole scene, the vibe. It was kind of one of those things. Do you want to play video games instead of going out? I'm like, okay, let's do that.
Sure.
You want to order pizza? Sure, let's do that. And so it really changed my whole feeling of what I was going through as a kid. You're going through these teenage years and you're kind of rebellious. I have a 14-year-old kid now, so I can see the changes in puberty and changes in hormones, and for no reason you're upset. And it was really one of those things that helped me turn in, like, internally and emotionally and mentally, was smoking cannabis.
Okay.
But my parents didn't approve of it. So it was one of those things.
Did they know that you were smoking at the time?
Of course.
Yeah, they knew?
Coming to the house smelling like a cloud.
Okay. But so they obviously didn't notice the changes?
They did. They did not notice them right away. No.
Okay.
No, it took a while. It took about 7 years before they started really seeing it.
Okay.
But in that interim, weed was being thrown away and bongs were being broken and papers were being shredded and don't smoke this and don't do that. So a lot has changed. A lot has changed now. Now they look at me as an entrepreneur, and a lot of it in terms of, they looked at their news source as the all-bearing source. So Univision would say weed is bad and weed was bad, and Now it's starting to change. That stigma is starting to erase, I think, and you see more support for it amongst older Latinos, amongst our parents, our grandparents.
Sure.
So it's good to see.
Yeah, and we'll touch a little more on that, but you kind of touched on like your parents see you as an entrepreneur now in the industry, but how did you get to that point? Like what happened from, the 15-year-old Daniel into like getting into this industry? How did that tap in?
It's been a long process. It's been a very long process going on more than 20 years now. So I turned from a smoker at 14 to, in my mind, an entrepreneur at 16.
Okay.
Because it was pretty expensive to be smoking this stuff. So, we come from a meager means background. I don't want to say the word poor, but we're damn near close to poor.
Sure.
And so being able to afford a $30 gram of OG at the time, it was more like five of us. That song, Loonies, I Got Five on it. That was a real life experience. All of us put our $5 bills to pitch in until we can smoke that 1 gram.
Right.
So we found out quick, or at least me and a couple of my friends, and the one that introduced me to it was that, if you buy a quarter pound, if you buy a pound, break it down, flip it, you make some money for your smoke, you make some money to buy some nice clothes and to be able to provide for yourself. But you wanted these nice things in life, but our parents couldn't provide that. So, and at the same time, it allowed us to help our parents out. So it was a motivating thing. So from the age of 16 is when I started really moving weight.
Okay.
And that turned into, at the age of 21, actually cultivating and beginning to cultivate
yourself.
Well, I say myself and me and
you
friends.
And your partners got you. Okay.
Yeah, if anybody tells you they do it by themselves, man, they're crazy.
Crazy.
You know that.
But you guys had like your own little rooms and
no man is an island.
And all that.
So yes, I think statute of limitations allows us to talk about these kind of things. But we started by renting homes and then renting a home and then multiple homes and converting those homes into indoor gardens.
Yeah.
And as time progressed, you tend to hopefully grow on that and expand it into warehouses. And what I see now is a completely different world than what it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Now, and I want to really touch on a few things because you started with the flower process, you started with the growing process, but your branding, your brand in general has not, at least from the outside looking in, we don't see it.
You don't see it.
And so, we'll get into that. But what started the creation of the brand here?
So, and we'll get into that. Yeah, it's still,
there's still levels.
There's still
a few more levels.
There's still a lot more levels, man. So the cultivation thing continued for years. Right. And so, when I was 26, I had, my son. He was conceived in a grow house.
Oh shit!
It's funny because I joke around with him. He knows now what I do, but not even 5 years ago, he didn't know what I did. He kind of kept it in the shadows.
And is that for a specific reason?
You know what? Now that I look back on it, when you look at like the wine industry and alcohol, these things are normal. Like in France, from what I understand, kids, they're given a bottle of wine, a glass of wine, like once in a great while, and it's not so taboo. With cannabis, I think because it wasn't like personally handed to me, but I remember back in the day, like, or shit.
At a parties, my Theo, or that cool Theo would like, here, try it or do this.
Shit, but even before that, man, parents would put tequila on the kids' gums because when they were teething,
right? And
nobody was like, "Yo, that's fucking crazy! Don't do that."
Yeah.
But cannabis has always had that stigma. So I think I carried that stigma subconsciously from my upbringing with my parents, that it was kind of taboo. And I maybe felt some kind of guilt telling my son this, which in retrospect wasn't probably, we talk about these things. We need to. That's how families grow, and communication is key. And again, coming from a Latino background, we're communicated with a chancla or fucking,
absolutely anything that you get your hands on.
It was a different form of communication. Our parents didn't have that handbook of nurturing and psychological upbringings and all this shit that's available to us now. So to answer your question, I should have told him sooner, but now he knows. So, I was 26. And so at about the age of 27, 28, I started kind of not so much stepping away from cultivation, but handing it off to other people.
Okay.
Because my son's mom was like, hey, look, you got to focus on things that are not going to probably get you in trouble. You have a kid now.
Right.
And
what year was this?
This was 2009, 2008,
Okay.
late 2008, early 2009.
Got you.
Right around this time my son was born. So it was really
you said
immediate.
he's 14, no?
Yes.
Okay. He just turned 14?
He just turned 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
In
My
October.
daughter's gonna be 14 in a few weeks, and she was born in 2009. So
Okay.
I should have done the math.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's automatic. I already know these dates. But,
Right.
And so around late 2009, good friends of mine opened up a retail store, a hydroponic store, which sold equipment and lighting and nutrients and everything to cultivate.
Sure.
The stuff that, we're used to using and people in the industry used. So I kind of, and mind you, this whole time that I'm doing my thing, though, I held normal jobs. I worked for law firms. I worked for Bank of America. I had like really good jobs.
Okay.
Where I would go in, work, and sell weed to everyone that worked there.
Okay.
It's kind of
right.
a double dipping kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I kept it for insurance, for like health insurance, and I kept it for a 401k and all that shit.
Absolutely.
So, and at the same time, I learned these skills that are now being carried into my business.
Right.
Where, like at Bank of America, I saw the movement of money and credit cards, and then I moved to small business where I talked to entrepreneurs, I answered their phone call, I answered their questions on checking accounts, and learned as I went along what all this meant. So all this stuff carries into this, which we'll get to later. But so we got into that, and I was asked to be the manager for the store. It was a store in Encino, in right here in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay. You want to shop this?
Go Green Hydroponics. It's no longer around.
No longer around.
Yeah,
okay.
2009 it opened, and I was there for a good solid 4.5 years, and that within itself also helped me as an entrepreneur now and a business person now pick up these skills that were going to be necessary to build a brand that's successful. So
Sure.
We sold equipment, bro. We sold the lighting equipment, the nutrients to people that wanted to cultivate. This was around the time when there was that housing crash, 2009.
Right.
So people were coming in that had no fucking clue about weed, and we're like, yo, I'm about to lose my house, and I heard you can make money growing weed.
Really? Just random ass people would
Man,
come in.
it was a trip, bro. It'd be fucking every race, every age group. You know what I'm saying? Persians, Asians, white people, Latinos, people that, back then you're like, damn, is this for a cop or what? Like, you don't even know, but it turns out that everyone was like hurting, no matter what socioeconomic class you came from, what race you were at. It was a tough time.
That's crazy, because I would have never imagined, like, you hear these stories of the market crash, but you don't. I've never heard that like side of the story.
Well, it was
or like at least these alternatives.
It was a saving grace for a lot of people. I'll tell you, because they would come in and be like, "Hey, I have an extra spare bedroom." Mm-hmm. And for us, it was like, "Cool, man. Well, put it on your credit card or whatever savings you got. We'll help you make money, dog. So buy a 4-lighter. We'll set you up."
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't go to their crib and did it, but we walk them through it. This is how you build the tables. This is how you set it up.
Right.
And we walked through on how to basically cultivate for people that had no fucking clue.
That's wild.
And it was dope because they would come back and say, "Hey, man, I have this really good weed now," and like, cool. And then they're like, "What do I do now?" I'm like, "Just give it to me, dog. I'll move it for you, dog."
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So it turned into another double dipping scenario, right? Where I'm making money on selling the equipment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these fools are coming back and are like, "Yo, help me out. Move this shit."
How do I move?
No problem, dog.
I got you.
This is all I could get you, dog.
Right.
Obviously, we wouldn't leave people hanging high and dry.
For sure.
But we helped a lot of people in that sense. And, these are things you'll probably never hear about until now.
Yeah.
Damn near 12, 13 years later.
Absolutely.
So that business there became successful in the sense that my two buddies were able to sell the business for a good profit. Mm-hmm. And I went from that area into the wholesale side of picks and shovels.
Okay.
Meaning where we were was a retail location, one of like 1,000 stores in the whole country. So I went to the people that sold to these
retailers, right?
And it was I've worked in wholesale businesses before growing up as a kid, but I never knew exactly the term wholesale, how much value that brings in terms of industry.
Okay.
Retail makes their money, right? But
Sure.
it's the wholesale boys that they dump it on. They take a smaller money, but they're moving volume, and the volume came into play. So I worked for a company called Sunlight Supply. It was one of the 3 distributors in the space at the time for hydroponic equipment. And they were the top dogs. They were the big boys. They had all the good brands. They had all the Gavitas, which some of the listeners are growing still. They know it's one of the better lighting brands.
Right.
They ended up, I was there for a couple of years, and they ended up selling the company in the process of me being there.
And what was your role in that?
Yeah.
space?
So my role in that place, a really good friend of mine, Art Isagolian, shout out Art, the homie Art. He's a brother of mine, man. So he got me in, he put me under his wing. Initially, my role was kind of to assist the sales team.
Okay.
So it was an in-house sales role is what it was. I was in-house sales, and I would field incoming calls and leads for people that either wanted to open an account or were looking to kind of buy bulk or whatever. So
yeah,
that ended up being, I transgressed into a sales role, and I started having my own accounts. And I was already familiar with how to operate a hydroponic store, and I already did it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an easy transition for me, because I would walk into a hydro store and I knew what to look for, what didn't look good on the shelf.
What moved,
what didn't.
stays, right.
Advice. And, obviously certain areas have different trends and
Sure.
and customs and traditions that they handle. But for the most part, what sells and what doesn't. So it helped me really well in that transition. But the company sold. And it sold to a company which many people are familiar with. It's called Scott's Miracle Grow. They do all the lawn fertilizers. They do. They're in Home Depot. They're a big corporation.
Okay.
They bought Sunlight Supply for something like 500 million.
Yeah.
They also, before they did that purchase, bought all the brands that Sunlight Supply distributed. The Botanicare, which provided the plastics that people use for trays. The Can Filter, which is a company that provided air filtration for smell. They bought a nutrient company called General Hydroponics, which is one of the oldest nutrient companies that growers and farmers that grew cannabis up in NorCal would use and still use to this day. So they went and started picking up these brands, and then they picked up the distributor. They spent like a total of $1 billion in these transactions.
Dang.
This was at the heyday of, I think at the peak of what cultivation was, because remember, I had already been out of the retail game for 5 years that I did it when we got out, and then they purchased it when I was 2 years in Sunlight, and so I think it was at the peak of the business itself, and I'll explain why, and it's proof in the pudding, and it's evident now when you look at their stock price. But at that time, it was basically the peak. They bought it, they spent a shit ton of money. Their stock went up to like $216 a share. People were like, fuck yeah, weed. And then markets started consolidating, states started legalizing. And what happened is a lot of their business core was from unlicensed growers and, people that were trapping heavy in warehouses.
Right.
So now you're having these people set up legit shops. These growers are starting to dissipate. Fizzle out, man. And it's happening. You'll see it, This last year was crazy. I got homies that have been in the game for a while that are like, I'm out. It's not worth it.
Right.
And so that's going to tie into this. So long story short on that, things didn't work out. I didn't see eye to eye with the corporate fools, and obviously, they're corporate, nothing against corporate people, but the way they did business, I didn't agree with. So we cut ties. They cut me, really, because I spoke up. And I don't know if you want to call it karma, but their stocks like at $56. No, it's not nothing that I did, but it goes to show you that by the hair of my chinny chin chin, I'm able to not escape. I hate to use that word, but get out at while the getting is good.
Right.
And that's transitioning into now this. So let me tell you the story on this. So been a while since I've been in the game. I've seen the ups and downs. I've seen nickel bags. It used to be, do you want seedless weed or seeds, or do you want BC bud, or do you want indoors, do you want Bubba, to now branding being huge.
Sure.
And that hasn't happened until recently, really, like the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Like that it's been true branding.
You know? For sure.
Before it went rec, there was the Prop 64 market, or the Prop 215 market.
Right.
Where it was all medical trap shops, and branding kind of started to emerge there a little bit.
Right.
You had High Times cannabis cups. doing shows, and then that's when you started seeing people with boots and stuff. And so that was kind of my aha moment. Like the light bulb went on where I've been in the industry for a while, and I've never, at least up until that point, saw a proper representation of Latinos, people of color, Mexicans in particular, in the space. I see them everywhere. They're in
working. They're trimming. They're doing it all.
They're doing it all. They're doing all the heavy lifting. They're doing all the work. But when it comes time to like a meeting of managers or a meeting of C-suites, if you want to call them, or just people that call the shots, they're nowhere to be found.
At least at the time.
And
even now.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to happen a little bit now. I'm happy it is. So that was the reasoning. So I came up with the concept of marijuana in 2016, and I trademarked it at the time. I thought it was a good name. The reason I came up with it was kind of a play on the words marijuana. Like, it's an obvious thing, but I attached the two sisters' story to it to create a branding idea.
Yes, break down the story for us.
So the story is obviously a play on the word marijuana, and it's basically the story is, it's on every one of our cups, it's on our drinks. We put it out there so people know it's two sisters. One smokes, the other bakes. Together they make an awesome combination. And that's it. The story is two sisters. It's Mari y Juana.
Yeah.
And when you cover the Y, it says marijuana.
Right.
And again, it's a play on the words that for a long time has been historically deemed inappropriate or condescending and derogatory towards. Originally, it was a Spanish word. I don't, I'm sure you're familiar. It's a word spoken in Mexico. They called it marijuana with an H. But at the time, Harry Anslinger and the government decided to, hey, since they use this word, let's attach that word to all kinds of propaganda and reefer madness and make it a bad word. So when the white people hear the word, they associate it with blacks and Latinos and Asian, Filipino immigrants and kind of get that idea in their head that that's bad. So that whole thing of how I didn't want to tell my son that I was in the weed, that whole mentality has carried over generation to generations. So people still think, oh, don't use marijuana, use the word cannabis. It's the right word.
Sure.
It's like who's to say what's right or what's wrong? Like they're like a hat or a head covering or a beanie. Like they all mean the same thing, something that goes over your head. So kind of the same concept. So I wanted to take back control more so of the word and make it a fun word, make it a word that's not derogatory, and we should be able to use it if we so choose.
Absolutely.
And that's the explanation, behind it.
And I'm glad it's someone like yourself, man, that has been doing the work, right? You have the story behind you. You have the experience. You're of Mexicano descent. Like, so for it, I'm glad that it is someone like yourself versus someone else that may have seen this void and just try to exploit it, as we've seen time and time again, like throughout, like branding has been, a thing within the industry. So shout out to you, man, for doing that and really taking back the culture in that sense, bro.
Yeah. And as you can tell from our branding and from our approach that we don't, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to have to. We don't whitewash anything, dog. Like our shit is made in California of Mexican descent. Like our culture is evident on every label. We don't we got the fucking Chichen Itza pyramid on the bottom right there, on the cup, on the cans. We don't try to hide who we are, and we're not ashamed, and we shouldn't be. So when I first started the branding, I have Elton Tinoco, he's my partner. He's a designer. He's a younger Mexican. His parents are from Mexico, but he's younger generation. He's about 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
And he was kind of like, hey dog, do you want to kind of tone it down a little bit? Like, maybe we don't want to go so hard. I'm like, nah, I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm like, I'm like, look, I want to be very clear with you, Elton. Like at the end of the day, dog, this product is not for everybody. It's for a specific niche. It's for a specific group of people, our people.
Right.
And so if someone's offended by it, hey man, we'll pick something else off the shelf. I'm not going to be here to appease you because you got offended because I'm too proud or because I'm trying to put my culture up there where it should be.
Absolutely. And that's also, being in California, like Mexicanos are very prideful of where they're from.
Yes.
And so, you know, like, again, I'm glad that like you stuck on that stance.
Let me tell you too, though, on that sense. So we are proud, but for example, my parents, and I think that's where he got it from too. Our parents, they're proud, but when it comes time to show this pride around other cultures, they get a little bit intimidated. And I'll give you an example. My dad, a couple years ago, now he's changed his way, because I told him and I checked him and I told him it would be like at the bank or something. He'll be trying to speak English when he's talking to me, because there's people around us that are listening. And so kind of an embarrassment. I think I'm like, háblame en español. No te vale madre lo que piensen esta gente, you know, like, don't worry about what these people think.
Right.
Talk to me in Spanish. Don't be ashamed, kind of thing. And so that kind of is my rebellious nature from a kid, of being against authority and someone saying, hey, this, you can't do that, or fuck you, we can do whatever we want, as long as you're not stepping on nobody's toes, taking food away from the next person, or violating their human rights, or doing anything that would hurt them, whether physically or emotionally. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. Like, we're here as humans to uplift ourselves. That's the ultimate thing. It doesn't matter what culture you're from.
Yeah.
We all bleed the same.
Yeah.
You know, you cut me, I cut someone else, the blood comes out red.
Right.
We all have the same wants. We all have the same needs. We're really not that different.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that makes us unique is our individual personalities, our individual upbringings, our culture. Yeah, that's unique. But at the end of the day, we're all human. So.
Absolutely. I like that, man. No, for sure.
So where do we leave off? Okay. So I came up with the name.
Yeah, the name.
Came up with the name, and it was a great idea, and it sat on the shelf, so to speak,
and the first product was the styrofoam cup, the michelada cup.
It wasn't quite that. So look, so it sat on the shelf, right? I came up with the name, I trademarked it. And I got back.
You meant like, you literally meant like the idea just sat on the Got you.
It was one of those things where, you know, you come up with a good idea at night, you're stoned, you're like, oh fuck yeah, that's a good idea. And then the next day you wake up and you're like, I got to go back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went back to work. I was helping my buddies build their brands. Shout out Nameless Genetics. Shout out Kushco. Shout out all my buddies that have been in the game for a while, that have showed me kind of the entrepreneurial way of branding at the time. And, I stuck to helping them build their brands and their IP and their branding and their look. And so I didn't do anything with this until a little bit before Cinco de Mayo 2021. It was like February of 2021 that I'm like, people were like, what happened to your brand? We did a drop, a collaboration with Nameless Genetics in 2017 to enter the high times for my mom's salsa. If you look on our Instagram at Marijuana Foods Co., go on our Instagram later. You can go all the way down to one of the first posts, and it's my mom's salsa. That collaboration was done with Nameless Genetics to enter into the High Times Cannabis Cup at the time.
Yeah.
We didn't win shit. We didn't place. They probably didn't even open the jars. They probably saw it and they're like, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it kind of deflated my pride a little bit. Like, damn, fuck, these motherfuckers probably didn't even look at it. And that was kind of one of the reasons where I'm like, all right, fuck it. So fast forward, and people kept coming, what happened to your brand, dog? And you could look on the Instagram. I just would post food shit and keep the Instagram going. And then under construction for like fucking a while, dog, until they were like, do something, dog. I'm like, all right, yeah, you're right. I'm going to do something. I went online, started researching white label manufacturers for cannabis. And the reason I wanted to do that is because as a kid, when I first started working like jobs, because I was always in trouble, I wouldn't go to regular school. I went to like a home studies or charter schools.
Sure.
So I had a lot of free time, and I wanted to make money, so I would go and get jobs, whether it was a bag boy or the call center. One of my jobs was at Whole Foods, the supermarket.
Yeah.
Back in the days when they had first opened up their first big store in Pasadena. It's still there. But before that, they had a really small store in Glendale. Yeah. And so they started expanding, and I started seeing like the branding aspect of it. And then Trader Joe's would open up, and I really fell in love with Trader Joe's marketing and their branding. So that's kind of what I mimicked this after. Trader Joe's doesn't do any of their own manufacturing. They do everything white label.
Okay. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, bro. You go to their shelves, they'll find the best ketchup manufacturer. They'll find the best drumstick chicken manufacturers, the best pizza makers.
Yeah.
And they will white label make for Trader Joe's. some of the shit in their store is made by big boy manufacturers that make it for like the mainstream stuff.
Okay.
So that's kind of the mentality I wanted to attach to marijuana. And so I was Googling and I found a manufacturer that made gummies. Long story short, gummies are a saturated product in the marketplace.
Sure.
My buddy Elton at the time, the design on the bag was kind of plain Jane. So luckily enough, we were able to flip those gummies and get it out. But this product was a product that was made in the legacy market. Shout out to the homies from Dab Chelada. He's one of my partners in the brand.
Okay.
Gentleman made the product in the legacy market, and it was 500 milligram, 200 milligram, big heavy boy dose. And I asked him, I kept in contact with him all these years, and because it's good to network, it's good to make contacts. You never know who's gonna help you later on down the line,
and where they're at in the industry,
or where they're at, who they are.
Right.
The janitor, you might look like the janitor, and the motherfucker owns the whole building. For all you know, be nice to everybody. Be I'm not saying like go out of your way, but be cordial, be respectful, do your thing. Say hi, smile at people. Yeah. And I kept in contact with them, and I told him I wanted to make this product for my brand. And at first, because he had his own brand, he was kind of hesitant, kind of thought I was trying to compete with him. So it took me a while to convince him, like, no, dog, I want you to go into business with me. And he did. So he's like, all right, fuck it, make the cut. He's like, as long as his partner said, as long as we can put his logo on it, he'll be cool with it. Yeah, no problem. Let's do it. We ran it. So this was Cinco de Mayo 2021. At the same time, we launched the gummies, and this product took off. People started recognizing it, because from a distance, you're like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. Now when we go into a buyer's meeting, I put this down on the table first, because it's kind of the conversation piece starter. Like, what is this? What is this? And it's like, well, it's a Michelada cup. There's chili powder inside. The chili powder is infused. You mix your beer with it. You get drunk. You get faded at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it took off. Matt McGinn, who's the founder of Uncle Arnie's, the product formulator, hit me up again a couple of months later, and he's like, yo, I've been watching the product. You should do a beverage company, a beverage brand. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know anything about beverages, so fucking help me out here. What's up? Right. He's like, yeah, I'll help you. Walk you through it. I'll formulate for you. He's like, but make me a small partner in it. I'm like, all right, cool. I got nothing to lose. I met him. I went to go have lunch with him. Looked him dead in the eye. I'm like, all right, I'll fuck with this guy. Let's see what's up. Yeah. And
how important was that for you? That face-to-face meeting.
Face-to-face meetings to me are always important. Yeah. Always. When I do long-term business with people, I want to have a face-to-face. I'm old school, dog. I gotta look you in the eye and be like, yo, right, are we gonna do this shit together, or are we gonna do this shit? That way I know later on down the line, at least I look dude in the eye or ma'am or miss in the eye, and because I do business with everyone. Sure. And make sure we do good business, because from the get-go, that feeling, that vibe, you don't get it over a Zoom call. Right. You don't get it over a phone call or a text. Those things are impersonal. It's not like, at least the way I was raised,
for sure.
You gotta,
and going back to like the legacy and like doing all of the partner deals with your boys and stuff. Yes. Back then, those I'm gonna assume or like handshake deals.
Yeah, there's not too many contracts that, right? That we signed.
Right. So how hard was it for you to, if it was even hard for you to like formulate then a contract with this new individual that you're just meeting, doing this face to face? You have this good feel of it. Like, walk me through the process of someone that's like, cool, I want to do this partnership with someone, but now what's next?
Sure. So in this instance, in particular, we formed a new entity, specifically for beverages, an LLC, a limited liability company. Okay. Chartered in the state of California. These things are not new to me, but in the business world, it's a common thing, right? You form either a partnership, a written partnership, a corporation, or LLC.
And this goes back because you like you said earlier on the show, you worked at the Bank of America of the world. You worked in the business side. Like,
I worked for law firms. I reviewed contracts.
Okay, so you've already kind of had that.
A little bit, yeah.
Got it.
So for Bank of America, for example, what's your legal structure of your company? How is it formed? Is it an LLC or is it a corporation? And they have to tell you these things because they're taxed differently. So when we send statements or bank statements, it's coded differently. It's assessed differently. The taxes depending on how the company's the organization is formed. Right. So I wasn't new to it, but of course we never did these things growing up in our industry.
Right.
It was a handshake.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I never got burned. Everyone, I think, at one point or another, whether it's somebody didn't pay you for that eighth, or somebody broke in and took your shit or whatever, we've all, I think, experienced to a certain extent our hardships. But you got to learn to wipe it off. Shrug it off and get up and keep going. You can't sit there and mull and think about it for too long, because it's not gonna do you any good.
Right.
In this case, he was a gentleman, and he is a gentleman that has a reputation that preceded himself, that he was accomplished. He did have a successful brand. So that there in itself allowed me to even take the meeting and sit there and take the time to go meet him.
Yeah.
And once we met, and once he explained to me what his proposal was, I said, sure, let's do it. This was September 2021. By November 2021, we formed the LLC. By April 23rd, we had our first batch of drinks. And I think that was around the time that I was coming here to kind of look. I was talking to you about space for storage and trying to figure out because again, up until that point, and even now, big dog, like, I don't know too much about beverages.
Sure.
Like, I'm learning as I go along, and
because it's also obviously too something pretty new in this industry. Like,
it is.
We haven't really seen that many drinks, like, and a lot of the drinks that we have seen are like the high dosage drinks, the 100 milligram little capsules. It's either an extreme with certain brands, or it would be like the low dosage drinks, like the cans that have like the 2
milligrams, 5 max.
Right. So you're a balance of.
We're trying to hit it kind of in between, right? Even with these new 50 milligrams, which you don't see. I don't think there's another 50 milligram drink on the market, but the 100 milligram category, like you said, is there, and it's one of those things where at this point, in my opinion, it's a little bit saturated. So I'm not a competitive person by any means. I look like I can compete, but I'm more on the creative mindset. And I always mention that in my posts or when I talk to people, and some of the things I read that instill that mentality in my mind. It's you're better off being creative versus competitive. There's no good that comes from being competitive. You get a fucking trophy, so what? Like, when you're creating something new or creating a new brand or a new category, you're more inclusive.
Yeah.
You're allowing people to then gravitate towards you on a more amicable term, versus if you're competitive, you walk into the room huffing and puffing with your chest out. Naturally, people were like, "Who the fuck is this fool?" Like,
right. Yeah, I can see that.
So, and we, it's fun to be competitive. I'm not saying don't be competitive. It's cool, but like, there's a time and place for everything. And I'm more inclined to be creative. As you can see, we're trying to create something. And I brought this trophy just kind of posted, like, we're joking around. This is the first time I brought this shit out. I haven't seen this trophy since we got it. Yeah. And more so, it's kind of a reminder to show what we've done in such a short amount of time. So we launched, like I said, the sodas April 23rd was when they were manufactured, 2022. So it's not even a year that these sodas have been out.
Yeah.
We entered the competition. I entered guava and piña. And it was the second time that High Times did what's called the People's Choice Award. Usually it's like a 5-panel judge, 6-panel judge. And, people, if there's 6 people, everyone has their own personal preference or biased. Well, this was the second time that they did the competition was 100 backpacks filled with different drinks or different smoke accessories or eights or whatever the category was. It was a backpack with that shit. People went to the store, they bought it, they took it home.
Were they blind? Was it a blind?
No, it wasn't a blind.
Did it have the packaging?
It had the packaging and everything. Okay. So that was the other thing. They graded you or judged you on the packaging, on the look, on the quality of the taste. Or overall, there was the different. Sure. It wasn't just do I like it or do you don't like it. It was like, what do you vote the packaging on this scale? Yeah. What do you vote this on the scale? And we won. We won first place. And the guy from High Times, I don't want to blast him out, but he hit me up, the main dude from there, and he's like, yo, if you could have won 2 awards, he's like, you guys would have took second place, but they didn't allow you to win 2 awards because it would look a little crazy.
Right.
So just a reminder, when we've done it in a short amount of time, the 50 milligram drinks are about to launch. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary for the beverages. This product used to be a Foods Co product. So it was pulled into the beverages category. So originally when we started the company, when we did the gummies and the michelada cups, it was Marijuana Foods Co. And Juana has a spoon in her hand.
Right.
little subtleties. We formed the company with Matt McGinn, my partner, and so he's our beverage formulator. He's a strategic chief strategy officer for us. We changed it to beverages. Well, we still have both companies.
Okay, gotcha.
And we're gonna do cannabis too. So I'm not trying to compete, but be careful. we're gonna bring out that fire ass weed.
You heard it here first, y'all. They're coming.
We're coming.
They're coming.
There's plenty of room for everybody, so don't be worried. So in this instance, Juana has the bottle in her hand. You can see it's a small bottle, and for that matter, basically the beverage launch was Cinco de Mayo last year. So we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Any plans for?
I'm on LinkedIn. Nah, not really, bro.
Yet?
Just kind of keep doing our thing. I'm not, I'm not a big anniversary kind of guy.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, is there a specific reason why you went with bottles for the drink versus cans?
Sure. That's a good question. The main reason is because the manufacturer who bottles for us, Tinley's Bottling Company, Tinley's Beverages in Long Beach, they had bottles, and so
it's that simple.
It was one of those things where at the time also there was an issues with the port in Long Beach. There was a big backlog. People were boycotting the people that worked there.
Right.
Tinley's are like, we got these bottles. I'm like, fuck it, run it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to come to market. And the bottles are already there, so
okay. So it was more of just it's already there.
Yes, it was already there. It's a blessing and a curse because these things are heavy,
right?
And the liability, I guess, is glass, but that's in every industry. Mm-hmm. But the manufacturers, they're really professional. They really do a good job. So the quality on these is amazing,
right?
They make sure everything. The quality control checkpoints. There's several of them throughout the process. And
do you play a role in the quality control as well?
Nah, nothing. Actually, no, I take that back. To a certain extent, yes. Because right before it goes into batching, when they add the emulsion, which by the way, we use, you were saying this real quick. I want to jump back and forth.
Yeah, no, handle.
You were saying beverages are fairly new in the space, and they are because there's a lot of science that's been evolved in emulsion and oils that go into beverages. It's different than a brownie. It's different than other.
How so?
Well, because it's liquid.
Okay.
So we use Vertosa, their company in San Francisco and Oakland, who is our emulsion partner. So they have a process where they make the distillate or whatever oil input is coming in, and they nano emulsify it, meaning they make the particles a lot smaller so your body can absorb it quicker. And they also encapsulate it with something that allows it to float freely in the liquid. So it's suspended in the liquid versus falling all the way to the bottom and just settling.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to shake a product or some shit. These you don't.
Right.
You can drink the top half, you get 5 milligram in this bottle. Drink the bottom half, you get 5 milligrams. It's equally dispersed. So that's another thing. That's the science behind these things is evolving constantly. And that's why it's allowing us to now produce unique products and unique flavor profiles, where before it was a brownie. Mm-hmm. And fucking,
you can taste the
weed,
right.
and taste it.
Even in a few drinks, I've had a few drinks, and you can taste the weed in it. You can, it has like a distinct taste to it. Whereas your drink, you don't taste it. And I've taken every time I go to a family party, I always stop by a shop.
Thank you.
To get some drinks. And
I've seen that.
I send you pictures all the time.
Yeah, you do. And, thank you.
And I'll always pour it out. My elders are
I'll send you the
around.
check later for that. Shout
out. But no, man, I
You're right.
I'll pour it in everyone's having their cups of, spirits and whatever ice beverages, and I'll just ask for an iced cup and I'll pour this in, and I'm chilling at the party.
Well, a lot of it is thanks to the emulsion partner. They use bitter blockers, which prevents that bitterness typically from distillate and oils and whatever inputs of THC are going in. But a lot of it also is thanks to Matt, our product formulator, who creates really good tasting drinks.
Yeah,
there's no other reason that we won this cup other than that it tastes really good.
Right.
And it's
did you play a part in the flavors?
I played a part in picking out the flavors that we would choose. No secret, there's a brand already out there that does carbonated Mexican flavored sodas. Jarritos, they already do it.
Right.
So I kind of did my own market research, going into stores, going into liquor stores, and seeing which of their flavors were typical on shelves. And I also did Google searches and all that to kind of see feedback on which flavors were popular.
Yeah.
And that's why we went with these 4 flavors.
Got you. Okay. Has there been any, at least as of late, has there been any, you brought up Jarritos, has there been any like pushback? Has there been any word from like their camp of like anything? No?
I mean,
Okay.
I would hope there won't be. If there is, we'll deal with it, but there shouldn't be, because I'm not over here taking their name or there's a bunch of people that do orange flavored sodas. There's a lot of guava flavored sodas.
Right.
The only thing is we're both Mexicans.
Sure.
So
No, okay, cool.
there shouldn't be any issues. If there is, you can reach me, Daniel at drinkmj.com. My lawyers will deal with that accordingly.
Absolutely.
We fear no man or woman.
Now, are you gonna keep it to where the 50 milligrams are gonna be cans, the 10 milligrams are bottles? Do you ever see yourself even going up to the 100 milligram points?
So we're gonna keep these in 10 milligrams, the bottles. We're gonna do the cans of the same flavor profiles in those 50s. We're coming out with an energy drink that's gonna be in a can that's gonna be both 10 and 50s. It's our energy drink called Perico Verde. It should be out Q3.
Okay.
So it's gonna have 100 milligrams of caffeine, 10 milligrams THC, and then the other version is gonna be the same amount of caffeine, 50 milligrams THC. The cup, these are 20 milligrams. There's 2 chili packet powders inside. Each chili packet powder has 10 grams of this special mix that we have with 10 milligrams of THC. And then we're going to do a 100 milligram version of this cup.
Nice.
So we will hit the 100 milligram version only because that's the feedback we've been getting on the cup. We want a higher dose.
Okay.
It's an interesting mix, dog. When you do the beer with this, it's like you're on a roller coaster. You're like, fuck, am I drunk?
Right.
Am I high? Am I drunk? Am I high? It's kind of a very unique, different than smoking a joint and drinking.
Okay,
obviously.
I was gonna ask you, is it the same type of
No.
like that cross-faded high
No,
that like
it's
people
different.
complain about? Okay, it's a completely different one.
This product right here, whenever we make it, we've been making like 6 to 8 pallets at a time. It's quite a few cups.
Yeah.
They sell out like in 2 months, 3 months.
I mean, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like that's the only reason why I haven't really tried the Michelada cup is for that fear of like, I never liked that
Anxiety
cross-faded
or-
high.
yeah.
Of the smoking and drinking, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to combine the two. But if you're saying that it's a completely different experience, I'm gonna try it now and just give it a shot and see what that.
I would try it.
Yeah.
I would try it for sure. So I think you'll like it.
All right. Now going back to your 14-year-old, and you said that they just found out. What are the thoughts of your family, your children, your child, on what you're doing in the business?
What do I think he feels?
Yeah, like what are the feedback from your family now?
My son in particular, he's told me he's proud of what I'm doing. He's well aware, he's cognizant. He's obviously he sees things at school and stuff and hears things and he knows, and so he's aware. He's told me he's proud. So my parents are proud. I've managed to get my mom, when we first did the first run of the drinks, my mom and dad sat down with me and we poured a tamarindo, and my mom drank for the first time in her life she's ever touched weed without throwing it away.
Sure. What was
She
that
drank
experience like, man?
It was
for
dope,
you,
man. It was cool. It was like, man, if I could sell my mom, that's it. I can sell.
You can sell anyone.
I can sell anybody.
Yeah.
Because that's the toughest sell, bro. It took me that long to sell.
Right.
To get her to sit down and say, all right, I'll try it.
Yeah.
So.
And what did she feel? Did she feel the craze, like the experience? What was her experience?
She only drank a little bit.
Just a little.
We only drank a little bit. So.
Okay. Nice, man. Well, do you have any shout outs you want to give out?
I think I've given them all out. I've given them all out. Just hit up our website, drinkmj.com. It's very simple, drinkmj.com. And then our Instagram at Marijuana Foods Co. It's marijuana is spelled just like that. Foods with an S, Co, C-O. You can find us. Just look for the sisters on there.
There you go. Now, now that you brought up your Instagram, and you kind of touched on it a bit early on, you put a lot of food postings on your page. Is there reasoning behind that?
I eat a lot.
You just
Man, I eat a lot, bro. And you know what? I work out every single day, and the only reason I go running in the morning at 6 a.m. is to eat that day, bro. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't do it for any other reason. I'm not trying to have a beach body. I don't care, bro. I just want to be able to sit down at my mom's house later that day, eat a taco de birria, or go to In-N-Out, which I did yesterday with my son, and just kill a double.
Yeah.
But the Instagram is handled by myself. So yes, you will see a lot of food posts.
Right.
You'll see a lot of just random shit. We kind of keep it entertaining. And I've noticed that over the course of the last year, the eyes on it has grown significantly. So that's pretty cool. I guess people are engaged and wanting to know what the fuck I'm eating for lunch.
Food, yeah, absolutely. Whoa, I mean, the stuff you post on there, some of that food looks amazing. And I'm just like, is this guy a chef too? Like,
no, hell no,
is that
man.
how this thing comes? Like,
I mean, I could cook eggs and chorizo in the morning, but that's about it, bro.
That's about it.
Beyond that is reheat, put it in the oven, kind of cook.
All right.
But yeah, I love to eat, man. And what's that saying? I don't live to eat. I eat to live. I don't eat to live. I live to eat.
Yeah.
That's me, bro. Straight up.
I love it, man. I'm going to give my shout outs as always. You know, shout out to you, Dalia. I love you. Rosie, Faith, my 3 girls. I love you, girls. And make sure to, again, tune in to Said Connects on YouTube. Subscribe there. Follow us on Instagram at CED_connects. Leave a comment. If you have any additional questions for Daniel, for the brand, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and we'll make sure to get those back to him. And with that being said, we'll see you guys.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. That's good, bro.